Hello friends, welcome to Learning. My name is Dr. Ben. Today we are going to learn some awesome stuff. Learning is for everyone. Let's make it fun and let's enjoy. Hello and welcome back to the Excel version 2019 using formulas and functions learning series. Today we will discuss function fundamentals. Let's get started. If you are enjoying the series, click on the like button below. Also, click the subscribe button to receive notifications of new lessons and modules. Let's take a look at the learning objectives for this module. At the end of this module, you will be able to use functions in calculations, use the function library to insert functions into a worksheet, use the sum function, use the average function, and use the max and min functions in formulas. Let's discuss using functions in calculations. To effectively use a function in a worksheet, we need to understand how a function is structured and which components are required or optional. According to Microsoft, functions are predefined formulas that perform calculations by using specific values called arguments in a particular order or structure. Functions can be used to perform simple or complex calculations. A function is structured with the following elements as you see here on the screen: an equal sign, the function name, and the arguments. All functions begin with the standard equal sign, which is right here, followed by the name of the function. The name of this function is sum, and an opening and closing parentheses. In those opening and closing parentheses are called arguments. Most functions use arguments within the brackets, which often refer to cell references or ranges to include in the calculation. As you see here, we have a function equals sum, right here cell referencing, A1 through A5. For functions that do not contain multiple arguments, at least one argument is required. Additional arguments are optional, with each separated by a comma. Let's experiment with the sum function. Let's put our cursor in F3 here. To insert a function into a worksheet, start by entering the equal sign followed by the name of the function. I'm going to place in here in F3 an equal sign followed by the name of the function. Notice what I'm doing here. As I'm typing the letters or the word to a function, Excel uses what's called the IntelliSense to provide a list of the functions related to the letters that are being typed. I'm using SUM. Notice how it's changing there? The sum function does appear. When the intended function is displayed, use your tab key to move. The tab key has the ability to have Excel automatically finish the function name and start the opening parentheses for you. Now I'm going to select the sum of A3 all the way down to E3. Clicking my return key on my keyboard, it gives me the sum of 275. By clicking the return key, the sum automatically, or the function automatically places the end parentheses there for me. Let's try this again. I'm going to click out of this, erase all of this. In F3, I'm typing my equal sign, typing sum, looking at my IntelliSense, SU, and there's sum right there. Clicking my tab key on my keyboard. Now the function is ready. The beginning parentheses is there. I'm taking my cursor to A3, selecting all over to E3, clicking my return key, and it gives me the sum. This is wonderful. I mentioned earlier that not all functions contain arguments. For example, to insert a formula that returns today's date, you can simply use the today's function. That is right here. We're going to type in equal today. Notice the IntelliSense there. Today. Oops. Hitting tab. And then return key. Look at that. It gives me the today's date, 1/13/2026. This function still follows the correct structure, but does not contain or require any arguments within the brackets. Let's discuss the use of the function library to insert our functions. In the Formulas tab here, it contains the function library where you'll find all the functions listed by category. For example, I can find my financials function here. And if I mouse over this, if it stops, it gives me some indication of what this actually does. Anytime now, there it is. Add a financial function to your sheet. It does that. So you click the down arrow and it gives you all these wonderful financial functions to use. I can do the same for my logical function. My mouse works there. Clicking the down arrow, it gives me all the logical functions I can use for in my worksheet. I can click my date and time functions, math trig, and so on. Before you select your function, be sure to have your function results set cell all ready to go. Mine is in F4 right here. We use the function library as we did to browse for a specific function to insert into our worksheet. After we select the function to be used, the function wizard will launch to assist in adding additional arguments and finalizing the build of our formula. So now I'm going to take my mouse here and look at the more functions. I'm going to select statistical here and look at the average. I want to look at the average on all these numbers I have in front of me here from A3 to E3. As I mentioned before, if we mouse over the function, Microsoft gives us a definition of that function and what it does. So this average here returns the average, which is the arithmetic mean of its arguments. I'm going to click on that. Look what happens. I do give my little box here, my wizard launches, and it gives me the name of the function, average right here in my upper left, followed by a number 1 and a field, a box. I look down below and number 1 says what? This allows me to enter in numbers or arguments 1 to 255 arguments. Below that, I have the formula results. It's going to be right here. And also a link, a web link, which allows me to hit that and bring up the help function or the help area in Microsoft Excel website on this particular function. Great. I'm going to enter in the number 1 box here, the numbers I want to average. I'm going to select A3 through E3, let go, and see here in number 1 it has A3 through E3. I'm going to select that now. It's already selected. I'm going to now select my OK button. And there's my average. If you're unsure of that average, you can always do a calculation. What I do with mine is go ahead and bring up a calculator and check out the numbers to see if they are correct. Let's see. My calculator comes up. I'm going to type in my calculator. This is just what I do at times to make sure that I am on track here. 15, 85, 65, 55, 55. That's 5 numbers there divided by 5. So it is correct. It's 55. So the application is doing its job. So I'm now sure that this works. I can then put in other numbers to get an average. Now, other things about this, or other things to note about this particular function, is that if you need assistance in finding a function to perform a specific task, we can use the insert function command. It is found right here, insert function. Let's put another cell here. Let me go here. Hitting insert function, and it brings up the functions for a variety of functions actually. And you can select the function you need. If you notice here, I can select a function here, and down below that, it changes to give me the actual information about that function or the data about that function. average A, count, shows you what it does. And they can use that. Another way of bringing up the insert function is to go to your formula bar, and to the left of that, it's right here, insert function again. The same thing. I can browse through here and find my function, or I can search for one, type a brief description of what I want, and then click go. Another way of bringing up that function is to hit Shift F3. Shift F3. And there it is again, insert function. So there's many ways of doing that. I can go to the left up here. I can go by the formula bar, or Shift F3 to bring up my insert function, giving it a brief description of what I want, and it should come up with something similar to that. We've talked about the sum function earlier, and also briefly talked about the average function. Let's take a look at the use of the max and min functions in formulas. The max and mins. The max function returns the largest value in a specified range of cells in the worksheet. This function is very useful if, for example, you need to determine the highest expense or revenue amount in a financial worksheet. So let's take a look at the max function. Click out of here by deleting that 55. Now keeping my results cell F4. So here, the max function consists of the name followed by an opening parentheses. Let's take a look at that. I'm going to hit equal M. I'm looking for my max. There it is. Hitting that. Return key. Max now appears. The first argument is required and can be either a number, a named range, or a cell reference. All subsequent arguments are optional. The final part of the function is the closed parentheses, as we said earlier. When you tab over to get the function set up for you, you put in your arguments and hit the return key. The ending parentheses closes for you automatically. Now, the max function evaluates numerical values but ignores empty cells, text values, and the logical values of true and false. Let me repeat that. The max function evaluates numerical values but ignores empty cells, text values, and the logical values of true and false. So I want to find the max of this particular range of cells here, A3 through E3. I'm going to select A3 through E3. My number one argument is done, and I have two arguments there. So it's good. The first argument and the second argument. I can now hit my return key and automatically place that parentheses in parentheses there for me. So the highest number I see here is 85. Wonderful. The same can apply to the min function. The min function's minimum function returns the smallest value in a specified range of cells in a worksheet. This function is used for any scenario where you need to find the minimum values in a range of data. It's often used in financial analysis. So once again, the min function, again, it does what? It consists of the name followed by an opening parentheses. I can just delete this one here. Let's type in equal min. And there we go. We have the tab, the min, the function name, the equal sign, min, open parentheses. Once again, the min function evaluates numerical values, same as before in the max, but ignores empty cells, text values, or logical values contained within the specified range. It does not add those in here. So then we're going to select our range again. Hitting return. The lowest number is 15. There we go. Let's take a look at some other examples here. I'm going to bring this up. Our donut shop monthly energy value. The boss has come to me and said, hey, I got my chart here. I want to find out what was the least number of energy usage for 2024. So the least energy use. I can eyeball it and see what that was, but let's use our min function for that. I'm going to put that right here. Let's say minimal, if I can spell right, minimum energy use. And he says for 2024. I'm going to put that right in this cell here. I'm going to type in my equal sign, hitting min. There it is. Tab over. I'm selecting for the year 2024, what was the lowest rate? Hitting return is 243. I can do the same thing for my maximum energy use for, say, 2021. Clicking once again, hitting equal, max. My tab, my parentheses is set, it's open. For 2021, I hit my range here. The lowest for that year is 1915. I'm sorry, the highest 1915. You can eyeball it and say, okay, it's right. So this is just an example of what you can do with a whole big, huge worksheet of data to find the minimum and maximum numbers that you want. Now, I know I mentioned this earlier. If I go back up here, in my functional library, the functional library contains a button called Auto Sum, which is right here, Auto Sum. The Auto Sum will, by default, calculate the total from the adjacent cell through the first non-numeric cell, Auto Sum. The drop-down arrow on the button right here, Auto Sum, also provides an option to change that command to perform an average, maximum, min, and count numbers. Let's see, for example here. I'm going to put in some data here. Let's say 25, 25, 25, 25. I want to add these numbers up by using the Auto Sum. I can click into my cell here, highlight these, go to my Auto Sum, and it's 100. It's defaulted already to sum. That's why I just clicked on that Auto Sum to give me that 100. Let's do this again for an average. I'm going to arrow down now. Change that to reflect average. And it's 25. So that's one way you can use the Auto Sum feature here in Excel. I'm going to arrow back down to that spreadsheet for the donut shop for our energy usage. We talked about the maximum energy use, the minimum energy use for 2024 and the maximum energy use for 2021. I can put them in separate cells, or I can highlight this particular chart to show the minimum value for that particular range of cells. I can add colors, and I can add characters or whatever. I am going to show you how to highlight a cell with different colors that contains the minimum value. Let's get started. First of all, we're going to select the entire data range. I'm going to select 2025 values here from January all the way down to December. That's going to be from 041 through 052. Now, I'm going to go to my Home tab, which I'm already there, my Home tab, hit Conditional Formatting, then select New Rule. My new rule pops up, and from there I'm going to select Use a Formula to determine which cells to format. That's right here. From here, I'm going to enter the formula, ensuring my dollar signs lock the columns in the minimum part that I want. So I'm going to type in my formula here, starting off with my equal sign, my what is it, 041? 041 equal my minimum, parentheses open, my dollar sign to lock that in, as we talked about earlier, dollar sign 41, my min, colon, dollar sign, what's going to be the maximum here? Not the maximum, but the highest number in my range. 52. So my dollar sign is there. Click in my and dollar sign again for the number 52. Close that parentheses. This checks if the first cell is in the row is the minimum in the locked range. What we're going to do now is click format. I want to format this so when it goes through, it's going to select that minimum value and highlight that cell. I want to highlight the cell itself, not the numbers. So I'm going to go to format, and then I'm going to move over to, instead of font, which is default to font, I'm going to fill. I want to highlight that to show the yellow and click OK. Okay, I've got my cells here. 041 is my equal min, and so on. 041 to O. There's an error I see here. Where is it? There is. I'm missing my 5. There we go. 52 is my range. I want to click OK. As you see here, it just highlighted my minimum value right there from this particular range. The range that was set was 041 down to 052. There we are. So you can do this instead of this down here. You can choose either which way you want to show your data. But when you do this, make sure you have a legend of some sort showing what those colors actually mean. Yellow could mean minimum. You could have one for green, which means maximum of some sort. But don't make it too colorful where it looks wild. Okay, we've talked about the highlighting of a cell for the minimum value. We've talked about the minimum and maximum functions. We did take a look at the average function and the use of the sum function. Now it's time for my favorite, the knowledge check. It's time once again for a knowledge check. Attempt to answer the questions presented. You may pause the video after each question to review. Return to the lesson when you are ready. The answers to each question will be displayed a few seconds after the reading of the question and the possible answers. Let's begin. In Excel, a function is structured with elements. Select the element that does not belong in a function structure. A. Arguments. B. Equal sign. C. Function name. D. Percent sign. The answer is D. Percent sign. In Excel, what method is used to open the function library? A. Data tab. B. Formulas tab. C. Home tab. D. Shift F3. The answer is B. Formulas tab. Please note, the Shift plus F3 shortcut opens the Insert Function command. In Excel, which function below is used to add individual values, cell references, or ranges, or a mix of all three? A, average, B, count, C, max, D, sum? The answer is D, sum. What did we learn? In this Module 3, you're now able to use functions in calculations, use the function library to insert functions into a worksheet, use the sum function, use the average function, and use the max and min functions in formulas. This is the end of Module 3. Stay tuned for Module 4 using count functions. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Take care now. Goodbye.